Good morning, everyone. My name is Jonathan Miller. I'm here with CEO and founder of BitNile, Todd Ault, ticker symbol NILE on the New York Stock Exchange. Todd, you and I are familiar with each other
We
from
are.
attending these events,
We
but
are.
for our viewers, please tell us a little bit more about BitNile and what you're focusing on.
Well, there's kind of two BitNiles. There's BitNile Holdings, which is a holding company that's announced that it's separating into four separate public companies. And then there's BitNile Inc., which is the marketplace, we believe the first global marketplace for Bitcoin transactions, the ability for you to buy and sell commerce, B2C, B2B, with a reward system. That's a developing product we've been working on for a long time. We actually started working with the concept of BitNile in 2017 and built a holding company around BitNile Holdings. And I think that for the average person to understand, we just pre-announced we did 99 million for the first 9 months of the year. We're in defense, we're in electronics, we're in consumer electronics. We own a lender. We own a lot of things, data centers, and so we have around 600 million in assets with about a $60 million market cap, give or take. But when you look at it on a broken up basis, effectively, the new BitNile will really be a Bitcoin marketplace, effectively a transactional network that allows you to use Bitcoin and 39 other fiat currencies. 39 other cryptocurrencies and 22 other fiat currencies in transacting, but we reward you for using Bitcoin.
So you and I, as I mentioned, have spoken before. Tell us a little bit how you got involved in the space and how you got involved with BitNile and your experience there.
Well, I've been doing this for, I think, 32 or 33 years. I'm a shareholder activist. I've taken over many public companies. I've had a couple exits. I was involved in Taco Cabana. I was the founder of Patient Safety. Many years ago, I was involved in Food Maker, which became Jack in the Box. I brought Alzheimer's public. I was the founder of Alzheimer's, a biotech. And so I'm a shareholder activist. Effectively, I don't really manage anything. I allocate capital. And in 2016, I was approached by someone who wanted to sell the stake of a company called Digital Power. And I decided to buy a stake and turn that into a holding company, which is BitNile today. So I've been involved since 16. We've been building out this holding company. And unfortunately, shareholders have not been rewarded for our growth. We really have went from 3.5 million in assets in 16 to 600 million approximately today. We went from, I think, 6 million in sales to we're at 99 million this year so far, without going into the last quarter. We had effectively two companies in the portfolio in 16. I think we have something like 14 or 15 now.
Wow.
We're very diverse for such a small company. The market's definitely not rewarding that.
So with all that diversity, what would you say are some of your biggest strengths in the company?
I think the biggest strength is that we can finance our businesses. We know how to do that pretty well. And we've been pretty good at recruiting management talent. So we have, we have a really in-depth portfolio of businesses, including, multiple biotechs. But I think probably our biggest strength is the fact that we have been involved in corporate America, being public for so long, that our finance division, which is a licensed lender, has been so profitable in lending to other public companies. I mean, if you look at the economic driver of the business, we've been lending to other public companies now for multiple years, and that's been a big driver of cash flow for us. So while Turn On Green and Gresham have been either flat or losing money, like our EV business is losing money, but that's expected given the growth that they're involved in. Our defense business is more slower grower, and so we're able to cultivate that. So we're gonna issue a special dividend. We've announced a dividend of the Turn On Green subsidiary to the shareholders of NILE. So all the common shares we have, we're going to dividend out. We're going to dividend out a warrant to them too. That's a tradable warrant. And then we're going to dividend out Gresham, GIGA as a symbol. We're going to dividend out all those common shares we own too. So I think that our strength is understanding, basically financial creativity.
Excellent. And with your attention spread so many different places, what's the marketing strategy or the focus of getting that outreach?
Well, we really have not done a lot of IR, and I think that's kind of showing up now because we have had this sort of crypto winter, And so no matter what we say, we've tried to explain to people where we have a lot of diversity, and we really do trade in line with Bitcoin. It doesn't matter how much money we generate on the lending side or the defense side or the EV side. It's, our real estate portfolio. Here's an example of something that's really interesting, and that is, well, our market cap is under 65 million, I believe, and we have 65 million of equity spread out over our 5 hotels, our property in Florida that we're building apartment buildings on, and then our data center in Michigan. That's 65 million of actual equity.
Wow.
Now, granted, equity can go up or down with the real estate market, but that just gives you an example. That's our entire market cap, and yet that doesn't include any other portfolio companies that we own. So it's really, we really haven't had strength in marketing that message. We've done a poor job at it. Based on what the market's telling me, we've done a poor job.
Well, the good news is there's always room to improve.
Sure.
And obviously we're heading up some difficult challenges now with the current market weaknesses. Do you think we're heading towards a recession, and how do you think that'll impact the business?
Well, we were worried about this in February, and so in March we raised 160 million, and we've been really diligent on making sure that we have moved towards a more cash flow neutral business, or at least spun out the companies individually that needed to have cash to grow. If you look back and you look at rates and you take out the shock of the dramatic increase, then you're gonna see a more normalized process here. My personal opinion is that the Fed's overshot. It's been too dramatic, and I don't know why they use the word transitory. Like, if you looked at our show Risk On, we talk about this every week. Back 6, 8, 9 months ago, we were saying, what the hell does the word transitory mean?
Yeah.
You can't spend trillions of dollars and not expect there to be, by the way, not have the supply available, meaning the slowdown in production, the ability to not get, all these talking points of production and supply chain and increased capital in the marketplace. It just seems like, I don't know why anyone thought this was a no-brainer that we were going to have inflation. I just don't understand it.
I totally agree. I think that sentiment is shared amongst a lot of investors and individuals that are familiar with what's happening right now. What do you think is shareholders should know going forward, given this information?
I think the biggest concern I have for shareholders is that we've been buying in Alt Alpha, which is a hedge fund of ours. We've bought, I believe, 46 million shares since a year ago, September.
Wow.
So we've increased our position from 2% to, I think, under 15%. And I continue to see the stock trade poorly, and I don't think people really are doing their homework to understand what they own. And so I feel bad for the people selling it, and for the people buying it, they're maybe buying it because of Bitcoin. They're not looking at the whole picture. I think the message we're trying to send is we're going to do what we said we were going to do. We laid out this process for people in 2017, 18. We said we would over time issue special dividends as the companies matured and we thought they should be on their own. We feel like we're doing what we said we were going to do. We've been pretty clear on raising capital. We've been pretty clear on allocation of capital. We've been pretty clear on the business space we're going to be in. And now, as we shift and spin out Turn on Green, Gresham, and then ultimately Alt Alliance, which is the big kahuna holding company internally. I say kahuna because that's the bulk of the assets. When we spin out the lender, all that stuff included in Alt Alliance, and they're left with what is NILE, they really have a novel marketplace run by Douglas Gens, a programmer and marketer. They really have a really unique opportunity to be part of the Bitcoin community that we've cultivated in terms of transactional, whether it be, so we're really trying to create a super app around the idea of chat, financial services, and the ability to transact. So what I think they should be looking forward to is what vendors sign up for the platform, what vendors, verified vendors. We think we'll be the most unique marketplace, and that is there's not really any spam, there's no bots. Everyone is verified, they're verified with the Satoshi. It kind of plays off the whole Michael Saylor comment about using Satoshi in the Bitcoin network to verify the transactions. And then ultimately, the BitNile reward token, which is the primary name we're calling it now, will be a token that rewards you for using Bitcoin, kind of like a frequent flyer, closed-looped reward system. but in a token that is usable on the network. So obviously, we're going to go through the front door and make sure the SEC, we use the proper no comment letters and things like comment letters, no action letters, to make sure that we have a tradable token that's internal in the loop, in the closed loop system. We've talked about this a little bit, but we're going to make it a transactional network that rewards you for using Bitcoin. Not like a credit card, which rewards you with cash, but something that in the network allows you to transact in Bitcoin and get paid in a token.
So in a nutshell, more of just a marketplace, but a reward-based community.
It's a reward-based community, but I really would encourage people to think of a WeChat or something where there's super applications inside of it. I think in the US, you kind of see that with Uber, where there's Uber Eats, Uber Freight, regular Uber, different systems that Uber's building on top of a platform. And BitNile, which is the Nile River, basically the original commerce, the original place before Christ, where commerce was taking place up and down the Nile River, is the concept that we're going to offer you a river of services that's basically meets the 22nd century. Stuff that's all digital, and what we think is going to be a global transactional network based on Bitcoin.
Wow. And it sounds like you have your hands full. You mentioned lightly about some of the spin-offs coming about. Is there any specific product or company coming out that you want shareholders or investors to be aware of specifically?
I think it's important to understand IMHC, which is on the OTC, which owns Turn On Green. It's changing its name. It's changing its symbol. That's what's going to be spun out. That's what we filed for in S1 2 weeks ago. It's under review with the SEC right now. When it clears comments and those 140 million shares of common and 140 million warrants are issued to shareholders of NILE, I think that people will understand kind of what they're doing. They have a supercharger that they're installing for an Avis rent-a-car place back in Virginia, and I think that when people see the adverse of like the Hertz of the world, the Avises of the world, adding EV to their fleet, they'll understand really what Turn On Green is doing. Whether it be in the home charging market, or whether it be in the industrial market for buses and vans. And I mean, it's just something that's going to happen. And I think the EV revolution is only in the second inning.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And without having to mention any of them specifically, what do you think differentiates you from some of your competitors in the space?
We don't have the hard infrastructure costs where you have these bunch of EV chargers that are not being used properly. We have most of ours are done with partnerships where the landlords are in partnership with us to potentially make revenue. So you think of it as an electric network. There's a spread between the cost of it and what you charge. And so in all your partners are your network partners, meaning we're not just blindly putting chargers in places, paying for installation and hoping it works out. We're putting chargers in places where people are encouraging EV to be used, whether it be charge at work or charge at a facility, versus the really hard infrastructure that you have of being really early to the game. I mean, ChargePoint, everyone knows them, but they're sort of they're sort of institutionalized. They're a big component. They have to move a lot slower than we are, and so I think that that innovation, basically the smaller company innovation, allows us to pick off better partners than sort of this. We're not doing it for the masses, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you believe the change in stock price accurately represents the changes within the company?
No. It is the most perplexing thing I've been part of as a shareholder activist. I look at our stock price and I laugh almost every day. I do not get, as I said earlier, how we have 65 million in equity, virtually no debt. We just announced this morning our 500th Bitcoin at our Michigan location. What people don't understand is our Michigan location is 60,000 square feet of mining and an additional 540,000 of industrial space rented out to other people for commerce. And so when you think about how we do business, we're a real estate business that has 2 Marriotts, 2 Hiltons. We just opened a La Fouquet that we're a partner in New York City, one of the nicest hotels around. We're just not properly valued. This is just my opinion. I do not think, and I've dictated that by my buying of the stock, either personally or for the hedge fund.
Great. And before we go out, any important news or anything you want to touch on before we close out here?
I just think it's important to realize that the BitNile network is opening, we think, in March, and that we're taking on vendors, and you should go to bitnile.com and register there so you know what's happening in the space. If you've seen my social media, if you've seen what I've been doing, we have been part of the Bitcoin community. We've been rallying people we know in the industry around us, and so we think we have a good footprint. And we think we're like part of Web 3.0.
Excellent.
Yep.
So thank you again. Again, we're with CEO Todd Ault, BitNile Holdings, ticker symbol NILE on the New York Stock Exchange.
I got to be clear. I'm the executive chairman. My partner, Will Horn, is the CEO.
Excellent.
That's
Thank you
okay.
for the correction.
People say that all the time. Yeah.
You're the face of the company.
There you
so that's
go.
what
There
we're
you go.
knowing.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Todd.
Good, man.
Appreciate you.
Thanks.
Absolutely, man. Thank you.